I'm Dr. Melissa Smith from Washington Smiles Complete Health Dentistry in Washington, Missouri. I grew up in the suburbs of St. Louis and met my husband in college, and he grew up in a smaller town. So when we were deciding where do we want to go, we were trying to get outside of St. Louis a little bit further and found Washington, which is kind of a mid-sized small town. I began looking for practices to work in and ultimately stay in forever, and found one and grew it. Just started with basic fundamental, getting to know my patients, understanding what they wanted, treating them like I would a family member, and then we grew so fast that we needed a bigger space. So the dentist next door to me was retiring, and I saw her in the parking lot one day, and I said, Monica, or what's your plans? And she said, well, I want to retire. Do you want to take over my practice? And I was like, no, I do not want to take over your practice. I'm really busy. We actually don't even have room for our own patients right now. So I went home, I told my husband, and he said, let's do it. We're gonna build a new practice one day. Let's take over her practice and grow. So that was kind of the start of becoming more of an entrepreneur dentist. So then there was another dentist who was retiring, so then he came on board, and then we did the same thing. We transitioned his practice into ours. And that's really this facility. And then we went out and started looking back where I grew up in the suburbs of St. Louis for a practice there, and found one, kind of took over it. We kept the same team members on. That was really our first time trying it other than in an office that I worked in every day. When we took it to another location, that was an interesting dynamic. I made a lot of mistakes. One thing I learned was I did too much for them. Like, I wanted to come in and help them and teach them, and I didn't let them kind of grow it on their own just by putting systems in and then saying, okay, now do them. I was like, here's a system and let me do it for you a little bit here. So yeah, that was a learning experience. So that was Polished Dentistry. After Polished was kind of doing its own thing and going well, then we decided to, take our show on the road, right? So then we did another practice in St. Louis suburbs, and then another practice a little further out. As I've grown, my focus has shifted a little bit less from the patient. Like, when I'm their dentist, they're my patient, my focus is on them. And when I'm the dentist, I still wear that hat, right? Because I still practice. But my, client has changed a little bit over the years to the dentists that work for me, the office managers that work for me. It's a different dynamic. I don't see those patients, but I influence and help direct and make successful the dentists that work for me. So I guess over the years, the person that I'm in contact the most with has changed. The biggest thing that we did was systems. I think, it's one thing just to show up to work every day and do what you know is best, but when you start putting systems in place, that's when you really can see changes. You see people start to do what they're supposed to do, right? Instead of just, I happen to do that today. We all have roles, we all have tasks that we need to do, and I think it created a better patient experience for us because it was a lot more consistent. My leadership vision is really to make sure that my team members understand their roles and responsibilities. They have buy-in for our vision, and then I delegate the tasks to them. So I'm not a micromanager. I trust but verify, and I want everybody to do a great job, and I want them to be successful for themselves and then successful for our practices. Most rewarding would definitely be team members and contributing to their lives, watching them grow in positions, even some of the offices that we've come in and transitioned to new protocols. The old way that they were doing it was just so antiquated and not fulfilling. And now it's like they're a part of something bigger and really taking their career to the next level and then having growth within that career. I love that. And I love to see the patients getting really good care and being treated by people who love their job. I have 3 kids. My oldest just became a teenager, so not that little anymore. And my youngest is 7, and I have a 10-year-old squeezed in the middle there. I truly believe that being a working mom makes me be a better mom because it doesn't suck me dry, I guess you would say. I kind of have the best of both worlds. So I go to work, I do what I do here. I'm successful. I feel like I'm a great role model for my daughter especially, but really for my kids. But then I go home and I'm their mom. I really try to be present at whatever I'm at. So when I'm at work, I'm at work. When I'm home, I'm home. I try not to let that mix. With a smartphone, it's a little bit hard in the dinging, it's like ding, ding, somebody needs you all the time. Or there's something you think of in the moment, like if I don't write that great idea that's gonna change everything down, it's not gonna happen. So I do still do a lot of that, but I also I'm a work in progress for being in the moment and not letting things control you. I think the best way I have learned to do that is to delegate and find people who are really great in their roles and let them handle it. I don't have that roadmap like I want 5 more practices in 2 years. I have nothing up my sleeve like that. I'm always looking, and I always tell people, I'm always looking for a really great dentist, and I'm always looking for a practice with potential that I can grow. So when the stars align and I find both of those, then usually we make it happen. So I guess that's what's next for me.